but I want to take your phone calls on this. 257-5396. Why don't we start off with Ed? Ed, you are first up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Ed?
Last year, there were 45,000 mail pieces stolen from 2 post offices in Henderson. So there's theft, and a lot of the mail doesn't even.
Okay, so let's talk about that, Ed. Ed, let's talk about that. Ed,
L.A., Sacramento.
Okay, Ed, hold your horses. Let's talk about that since you brought that up. You say that there were 45,000 votes that were stolen. Were there any arrests or charges filed? Because that would be a Class D felony.
No, I think
Interesting.
the union gave government employees union gave $250,000 to Sisolak's campaign.
So you're saying, okay, so Ed, so you're saying, Ed,
with the unemployment. Well, based on how the unemployment has been,
Ed, slow down.
Why would you think the election would
listen
be
to what
you wouldn't, Ed.
Ed,
you
slow
wouldn't.
down for a second. You just said that 45,000 were stolen. I asked you if there were any charges. Now, you didn't directly answer the question. Your response was, well, they donated to the Sisolak campaign. So I will ask you again, and let's see if you could intellectually be honest and answer the question. It is a Class D felony, what you are saying. You are saying 45,000 votes were stolen or there was intent there. I ask you a very simple question. Was one person ever arrested or charged? Because if the answer is no, then I think you're full of crap.
Fox 5's website, Google it.
No, I'm not Googling anything. I'm asking you.
Go to Fox 5,
I'm not. All right, get rid of him. Get rid of him. Get rid of him. Get rid of him.
Hey, good call, Ed.
Yeah, wonderful call, Ed. No, I'm not going to Google Ed. You're the one who called into the show and said that it happened.
He's saying that Fox 5 can legitimize his claim.
Right.
And you can Google it. So instead of saying you don't believe him because no one got arrested, you could take a look into it.
Well, here's the thing.
That's all he's saying.
Nobody got charged, and I'm not going to accuse somebody of murder. I'm not going to accuse somebody of drunk driving. I'm not going to accuse somebody of kidnapping if they weren't even charged with a crime, and my response wouldn't be, well, they donated blah, blah, blah.
You know
to
who
the
would, though?
Sisolak
You know who
campaign.
would? Bubba Wallace.
Okay, again, that's completely irrelevant to what we're talking about. I think most people understand what I'm saying here. Stop making accusations if they're not true, and there's no evidence to back up your claim. Donald Trump does it all the time. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Jane. Jane is next on the Vegas Take. Jane, what's up?
Hey, Jane.
You know what? I'm listening to you. Whoever is running off with a mouth like this, somebody needs to mention the fact, the colossal mess that Sisolak has made out of the unemployment. I have tried for 2.5 months.
What does unemployment have to do with what we're talking about?
What she's saying is that if he can't handle unemployment,
I won't shut up.
Then obviously you can't handle a mail-in ballot election.
No, Jane. By the way, Jane, do you have a problem with? Oh, that's how. Okay, so are you a Trump supporter, Jane? Are you a Trump supporter?
I'm just wanting to set the record straight.
And I want to set the record straight. Are you a Trump supporter? Yes or no? Because Donald Trump runs his mouth every day. Do you complain about Donald Trump?
I complain about whoever's not doing a good job.
Excuse me, that's not what I asked you. Are you a Trump supporter?
I know you think you're pretty
Jane, guess what, Jane? Guess what, Jane? I feel really bad for your husband because you got a big mouth.
I don't have a husband.
He's got a deal. Yeah, what a shocker. What a shocker you don't have a husband. What a shocker.
Brian, what if her husband died and that's why she doesn't have a husband?
What a shocker she doesn't have a husband.
Would you feel bad about that after that? How'd
you like to listen to that whack job all day when you come home from work?
How is she a whack job? She just said that the governor didn't do a good job with Dieter Pooh and unemployment, which he did not.
I'll respond.
And that was what, maybe 500,000. Now you've got to increase that by probably 2 or 3 times, and you're supposed to handle that correctly.
First of all, she told me to shut up before I was rude to her.
She said that you had a big mouth.
That's not all she said. I listened to the call. Maybe you didn't. She told me to shut up.
I listened to it intently.
Okay. She told me to shut up. She said I run my mouth. And why do I run my mouth? Because she disagrees with me. Because I have facts.
Well, you're
to back up my. I have facts to back up my opinions. How would you like to come home from work? And, hey, Jane, I had a really tough day at work. Oh, stop running your mouth. I made dinner for you. Thanks for calling in, Jane. We appreciate you. I know you're a Trump supporter, and you've never complained about Donald Trump running his mouth, so why don't you shut up? 702-257-5396. Go to Michael. Michael is next on the Vegas Take. Michael, what's going on?
Hey, Michael, what's up?
Hey, good morning, gentlemen. Wow, Brian, he sounded pretty aggressive and heated, understandably, but just...
Well, if people are respectful of me, I'm going to be respectful of them, but if she's going to start a conversation by telling me to shut up and telling me to stop running my mouth, I didn't tell her to call into the show. She did it herself.
Just promise me that if Hogan Gidley approaches you the way that woman
Hogan wouldn't talk to me like that.
You will not respond in kind. Just promise me you won't do that,
Well, first
Brian.
of all, Hogan wouldn't do that because he's professional. He wouldn't tell me to shut up.
Brian,
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Get pretty call. But we all do it at times, too. I totally get it. I just wanted to call and express concerns about the voting. Again, these are concerns because, like, California had 112% of votes received. I don't understand how you go over that. Also, I know for a fact how AOC would go out to the district and she was registering the illegal immigrants and getting their votes, ballot harvesting. I'm just concerned. I hope nothing like that happens.
Hold on a second.
And there's a lot of illegal immigrants here in Nevada.
Okay, so hold on a second. AOC
That's
was
my concern.
okay, but
That's my concern on both sides.
hold on. Okay, I understand, but let's just be factually accurate here. AOC was registering immigrants. I didn't see any evidence to support your claim that she was registering illegal immigrants. Where is your proof on that?
You know what? That's a really good point. I'll do more research because this is all, like I said, word of mouth. But I'll do more research.
You would agree. I understand, but you would agree, Michael, that if you're registering immigrants that are legal, you wouldn't have a problem with that, right?
Correct. If they're legal, did the process and everything, Hakuna Matata, go for it.
Understood.
That's my
Understood.
Well, yeah, and I totally agree with that.
Yes. Michael, thank you for telling me not to shut up. I appreciate it.
Thanks for the call, Michael. Good call.
702-257-5396. JD, stop running your mouth. Let's go to David. David, you're next on the Vegas take. David, what's going on?
What's up, David?
Hey guys, how you doing? I just want to say this whole conversation is a little bit ridiculous. I used to work in politics, and I just want to say, JD, do you have any idea how hard it is to get people to vote that are 100% legal? People that are already registered to vote.
Yeah.
Tens of millions of people that don't even show up. So to think that there's some coordinated effort to register illegal people or commit voter fraud is totally absurd. When you have tens of millions of people, totally illegal, 100%, that don't even show up. So what people in politics do is try to convince those people to show up and vote, not come up with some grand scheme of voter fraud. It's totally absurd. Totally absurd.
Agree, David. I think you're speaking
Brian,
to JD. Yeah.
A little bit off topic. If you have a chance, when you have on Mr. Gidley, ask him why Trump knowingly lied to Chris Wallace about having a health care plan that he was going to sign in 2 weeks. That was about 17 days ago. Total lie, of course. Knowingly lied.
That is on my list.
3.5 years ago saying he had a plan. I have a plan that's the best. Everybody's going to be covered. I'm a businessman. I know how to do it. Nothing.
David,
please ask him that.
David, I promise you that is on my list of questions, sir. I promise you I will do that.
Please don't let him off the hook, too, because
I will not.
Lied about it.
If you listen to the show, you know if I disagree with someone, I do not let them off the hook.
By the way, Joe Biden just turned himself into a liar today. Actually, yesterday, when he said that he has never been tested for his cognitive ability. And about a couple weeks ago, on multiple occasions, he said, "Yeah, I'm tested all the time."
All right, so
now Joe Biden is also a liar.
Okay,
Donald Trump's a liar.
We're talking about voter fraud right now.
Right.
We'll get to that a little bit later. I'm not really concerned about cognitive tests that a 3-year-old could pass. 257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Kevin. Kevin is next on the Vegas take. Kevin, what's up?
Hey, what's up, Kevin?
Hey, guys. Two things. One, JD, don't take it personal, but you got to stop all the filibustering and talking over. It's just really rude.
What are you talking about?
You really do. Brian, he tries to give you a chance to talk, but then you want to just ramble on, and it's like, I understand you have to have a point, but we can't understand everything that you guys are trying to point out if you're just talking over him. It's really rude.
I'm not talking over anybody. Brian starts the show, and then I make my point, and my point lasts longer than usual sometimes. And Brian attempts to jump in.
You're doing it right now.
I'm just actually, you just tried to interrupt me, Kevin.
No, I was just saying.
No, you just tried to interrupt me, and that's what Brian. You just did what Brian does to me on a consistent basis. Stop projecting, Kevin.
My point was.
What's your point, Kevin?
Just that if Republicans honestly cared about a true vote, then why don't you just try to figure out ways to get everybody to the polls, open up more voting booths, open up places. You're in a pandemic.
Hey, Kevin, I have an answer.
Hey, Kevin, do you know how many voting booths there are in Las Vegas?
Hang on.
Because the answer is the answer is 36.
Kevin, I have a question. I have a statement, Kevin, or a question, I guess. Do you know what would happen, Kevin, if every single person in America legally voted? Do you know what would happen every election?
You pointed that out, and it's so true.
Yeah. Democrats would win every election.
Yes. And like I said, JD, just you guys, if at some point you guys are going to have to come to the table and start really winning the wars and stop trying to suppress the vote, stopping people from voting. It's disingenuous. It's wrong. Every American deserves their vote to be counted. Okay, you guys can keep on running these playbooks, but people are not. I mean, those people that are on the fence, open your eyes. If you really want to vote and you want your vote to count, then you have to speak out against this type of stuff.
Or all you have to do is just request an absentee ballot. Or you could just show up to one of the 36 locations in Las Vegas.
Hey, JD,
either of those things are totally acceptable.
Since we're in a pandemic, JD, why don't we open up football stadiums and baseball stadiums? That way we can social distance. People can sit down and vote.
That is
true. And then
true.
you guys can make more room for people to vote.
We are in a global pandemic.
Or since protesting with 15 to 26 million people over the last 4 months is totally, why don't we just vote outside?
Okay, this is the other thing, JD. Also, they tried to start being able to register to vote at the DMV. Is that still possible, or did the Republicans shoot that down?
I have no idea. I know nothing about that.
Okay. Yeah,
Kevin?
no, it's just a matter of if you want people to vote, let them vote, man.
Kevin, I'm with you, man. I'm with you 100%. And
you're acting like you're not fully capable of requesting an absentee ballot at any point between now and the election, or even months ago and the election,
all right,
as well as having the opportunity on Election Day to go down in person and vote at one of 36 locations.
Okay, so a couple things. First of all,
how is that suppressing? How is that?
Let me
well, I'm not
respond.
finished yet. How is that suppressing the vote whatsoever?
Okay, I will answer your question. First of all,
Brian.
when you talk about polling, as you know, we're in a global pandemic. It is very difficult for specific people to be able to get out and do that. So that takes care of that argument. The other argument, as far as requesting a ballot, as you know, and I will be the first one to admit this, there's a lot of people in America that are a little lazy and they won't take that initiative. But if you send it to them, it'll give them an opportunity to vote where maybe in other circumstances they never did it or they forgot to. It's an opportunity to give an opportunity for more people to vote. Let's get back to the phone calls now. 702-257-5396. AJ is next. AJ, what's going on?
Hey, what's up, AJ?
How you doing, guys?
What's up?
So I guess my question is, shouldn't be everyone's goal to have everyone vote?
Not the Republican
Count
Party.
everyone's vote.
Not the Republican Party.
I understand. So they raise these issues about mail-in fraud, and it blows me away that if they're mailing these ballots to people who've been deceased, they're giving out double ballots. Is it to every Democrat, or wouldn't it be going to Republicans
Exactly.
and Democrats?
Thank you.
Wouldn't the fraud be on both sides?
AJ, you just hit the nail on the head, my friend. I am so glad you brought that up, and I'm going to bring that up to Hogan Gidley.
I'm not saying that's not the case. Either way, it's fraud. Either way, it's delaying the election. Either way, it's going to probably cause litigation after the fact, and we're not going to know who the president's going to be for a long time.
A lot of Republicans will say only Democrats can commit.
That doesn't have to be the case. Obviously, it could happen on both sides, of course. I'm not suggesting that it couldn't.
In the state of Nevada, if you look at people who've been prosecuted for voter fraud in the last 8 years, it's only been Republicans.
Yeah, look up North Carolina. Look at what happened there with this GOP operative facing new felony charges that allege ballot fraud. AJ, I'm so glad you brought that up, my friend. You're absolutely right. 702-257.
The exact same thing happened in New Jersey on the Democratic side as well recently.
I never said it.
And then take a look at the New York primary, Brian. 25% of those ballots were declared invalid. They're still waiting on two of those.
702-257-5396. I've never said it doesn't happen on both sides. In fact, that's what I'm trying to claim here. But if you listen to Donald Trump and his administration, they claim only Democrats could commit voter fraud. Let's go to Jim. Jim, you're next on the Vegas Take. What's going on, man?
Hey, what's up, Jim?
Yeah. Listen, this has to do with one of Trump's relatives getting involved in this. I sent you guys a photograph of blocked mail at my apartment complex. And my apartment complex is managed by this global company called Cushman Wakefield. And I've complained a number of times to the management and the apartment complex that this is causing a backup of mail, okay? And including a lot of backup of ballots, which I had to physically carry into the office. Well, I went on the website and I just found something very interesting from a real estate trade magazine. And it said, and I'll read it to you. Fred Trump III, a real estate veteran and nephew of President Donald Trump, has joined Cushman Wakefield leasing team as an executive director. So here you have apartment complexes that are blocking mailboxes and not fixing them, because in apartment complexes, the mailboxes are the responsibility of the apartment owner, not the post office. And they're causing the problem they're complaining about. So I hope you bring this up when you get to speak to your guest later. Thanks for taking my call.
I appreciate the call, and I appreciate that information. There's a lot of things we're going to be bringing up at the top of the hour with Hogan Gidley, but I appreciate that. 257-5396. Let's go to Joe. Joe, you are next on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Joe?
That was the best call. Must be getting an absentee ballot. By the way, if ballots are declared invalid, and maybe that's a sign the system works. Did you ever think of that? 257-5396. Go to Eric. Eric.
Sorry, what?
Eric, you're next on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Eric?
Hey, Brian and JD. I just wanted to kind of chime in on this. I was a firefighter in L.A., South Central L.A., for like 35 years. Retired now, and I'm an independent, so I've kind of got no dog in this fight. But I just wanted to tell you, it has to do with mail-in, and sort of does, and sort of doesn't. When we got a registered voter sheet from the voting commission in that area to go out and talk to people to get them to register to vote during a campaign that we were doing, and to register people to vote, and also to talk to people about getting some of the stuff passed that we needed passed. So we took this sheet that we got from the registered voters, and going back to what JD was saying, we would go to these addresses, and they say, okay, this house has 4 registered voters, okay? Then we go to a place that says, okay, there's 20 registered voters at this address. We go to the address, it's a vacant lot. Then we go to addresses we know there's only 2 or 3 people living in, and there's 8 or 10 registered voters.
All right, so to what you're saying, I don't think anybody would disagree with the fact that mistakes are made. But to say mistakes are being made, and then to say that millions of votes, there's voter fraud of millions and millions of people, and it's going to affect a general election, are two completely different things.
Well, if you lose, if you cast your ballot correctly, and due to no fault of your own, your ballot is not given to the candidate that you're voting for, then to me that is fraudulent.
Okay, but to the law, it's not fraudulent.
Now that being said, also something came out a couple of days ago where a man was living at an address and he has, I believe, 23 different applications from Dieter from unemployment in Nevada. He had 2 different addresses. One had 12 different had 12 different recipients of unemployment. The other one had 18. And so if something like that can happen with just the unemployment, imagine that on the scale, 2 or 3 times the size with mail-in voting.
Again, there's no evidence to support the fact that there's been massive voter fraud. Those claims by the president.
There also hasn't been a lot of there hasn't been evidence, or there hasn't been an election where there's been this much absentee or mail-in ballot voting. So you've got a much smaller sample size.
Okay,
so why would you not assume that as the sample size gets larger, especially under the political climate that we're in, that mail-in, that fraud would occur, especially when the governors like Steve Sisolak are trying to do what they're doing.
That's like saying I've never been married before, but when I do get married, there's a good chance I'll be a bad husband. It makes absolutely no sense. 702-257-5396. Let's
Brian,
go to Ryan.
Based on sample size, of course it makes sense.
No, there's no evidence of massive voter fraud in the state or the country, so you're 100% wrong. There's just no evidence of it. Let's go to Ryan. Ryan, you're next on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Ryan?
Hey, I've worked for the Clark County Election Department here since about 2004. And I've seen a lot of it. One big thing on mail ballots is when you're verifying an address for that specific mail ballot to be sent there. And once you request one, it's put on the posting logs at the poll sites and precincts. So if a voter that requested a mail ballot now comes in, I either have to have them surrender the mail ballot, or they can't vote because they already have it, so you don't double count it. But it's a verification for address when you count it.
Okay, so it's not just signature, Brian, it's also address. And what he's saying is that you could possibly vote twice under this circumstance.
So possibly and it actually happening are two completely different things. So since you worked for this, Ryan,
yes.
Do you believe the president when he claims massive, that's the term he used, by the way, massive voter fraud in the state of Nevada?
Like I say, there's no it gives an opportunity for that to happen, but no, it hasn't happened on a mass level. It does have an opportunity on the 2000.
And I'm glad you made that distinction.
Ryan, do you have any idea how many absentee ballots were turned in Nevada in the 2016 election?
Well, it goes by precincts and all that, and most of it's honestly military or contractors and people working out of state. Yep. I'd say a majority is active duty military.
Sure. Well, Ryan, I appreciate the phone call, and I think what Ryan said is very, very important, and I want to repeat what he said. There's always an opportunity for people to speed. There's always an opportunity for people when they're serving alcohol to drive drunk, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's happening on a massive scale. Just because there's always an opportunity to shoplift doesn't mean everyone is going into your store and shoplifting. Do you understand the distinction and the difference? I think that's important. Let's go to Bob. Bob, you're next on the Vegas Take. What's up?
Hey, what's up, Bob?
Just a take on a spin on it. They claim asking voter ID is discriminatory. I don't find discriminatory. You got to show ID to cash a check, to get unemployment, to get new food stamps or welfare. So I don't understand why you can't produce ID to register to vote. I don't understand that. Can you explain that?
Why you can't produce an ID to vote?
He's talking about voter ID.
States to produce ID to vote. It's discriminatory. It's racist. You got to cash a check, you need ID. You got employment, you need to show ID. Food stamps, welfare, right down the line.
Well, I'm on your side. I'm on your side when it comes to this. I completely agree with you. Just like I agree with many that illegals should not be allowed to vote either. Just like illegals should not be allowed to have a bank account or be able to have a driver's license. I'm with you, Bob. I certainly don't. I certainly don't disagree with you. 257-5396. Let's go to Wayne. Wayne is next on the Vegas Take. Wayne, what's up?
Hey, what's up, Wayne?
I think we lost Wayne. 257-5396. Let's go to Mike. Mike is next. What's up, Mike?
Hey, Mike.
Good morning, Mr. Sharp and Mr. Shapiro. How you doing?
Good.
Doing okay.
What's on your mind, Mike?
Well, I laugh when you say there's no fraud because being
Didn't
a
say there was.
refugee from California,
I didn't
being
say
a refugee
that.
from California, I've seen motor voter fraud for 10 years.
Okay, Mike. I never said there was no fraud. So again,
I'm sorry.
Okay, what
I just came
hold
in.
on.
I came in late on the show. I'm
Mike,
sorry.
that's perfectly okay. Here's what I said. I said I don't. What the president said is that there is massive voter fraud. There's a difference between.
No, he said there would be massive voter fraud. He didn't say there is massive voter fraud. He said there would be an opportunity for or massive voter fraud would take place.
That's not true. That's not what the president said.
He did.
The president claimed that there was massive voter fraud in the state of Nevada. That's what he said.
This is what's really making me mad. A family got a ballot issued to their cat that died 10 years ago. So to me, that proves that illegally they are using the Census Department's information to send out ballots.
Here's what it proves to me, Mike, and I appreciate the phone call, but here's what it means to me.
Thanks for calling, Mike.
It means what we've already known, is that it's not a perfect system. It means to me that there are mistakes that are made, but it doesn't mean that it's happening on a massive level. Two completely different things. Let's go to Lewis. Lewis is next on the Vegas Take. Lewis, what's up?
Hey, guys. Listen, the one thing that I do agree with Sisolak is that every has the right to vote.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. With that said, having the right to vote doesn't mean it should be easy, right? And if you want to vote, this is important. You have to get up and go vote where your polling place is. And you know what? Unfortunately, if you are a person that is sick and is unable to go vote, that's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. But mail-in voting, in my opinion, is wrong.
Why is mail-in voting wrong? Why?
Because they're trying to make it to where everybody votes.
All right, so let me first of all think about what you're saying.
Okay,
so
everyone should.
All right, hang on, Lewis. Let's talk about it. First. Hold on. Let me talk to Lewis for a second. Lewis, you just said it's an issue that everybody votes. I think that's absurd. Number one. Number two, you do understand we're in a pandemic. If somebody is old and they don't want to get sick, God forbid they don't want to get the coronavirus, your response to them would be, well, that's how
Brian,
hold on, let me finish.
Say we're in a pandemic.
Let me finish.
You don't get to vote.
Let me finish. JD, let me finish. Your response would be that's how the cookie crumbles if you have a lady, maybe who is in the military, a man or a woman who served this country honorably. They're old. They don't want to get sick. They have underlying conditions. They don't want to go to a polling place, but they want to vote. And your response to them is, sorry, that's how the cookie crumbles?
No, your specific example, military people, guess what? They're smart enough to know how to request a mail-in ballot.
You just said that's how the cookie crumbles, and you think mail-in voting is wrong. Now you're contradicting yourself.
I'm talking about your specific example that you said. An old lady, an old man that were in the military. They know how to.
Let me rephrase it.
Here's the deal.
Let me rephrase
Brian's talking about a pandemic as if the election is next week. The election is in 3 months, Brian. You don't know if we're going to be in a pandemic in 3 months. You have no idea.
You're right. I'm sure it'll just go away because Trump's doing a wonderful job. You're right.
Do you know what? No, a pandemic, Brian. When you say a pandemic, The R naught of the virus has to be above 1 nationwide.
All right. So
right now we're in a pandemic.
Okay.
But cases have dropped from 72,000 down to 46,000.
So now you're going to assume that we won't be in a pandemic in a couple months.
I'm saying you don't know if we're going to be in a pandemic, Brian. You have no idea.
Well, you know what?
And you're acting like just because someone doesn't want to go to the polling booth and get sick, that they can't request an absentee ballot. They absolutely can.
I am actually.
You're acting like that isn't an option.
I am actually responding to the actual caller, and the caller said any type of mail-in balloting is wrong. I was actually listening to the caller and responding to what the caller said. That's what I was responding to there. 702-257-5396. Go to Alan. Alan is next on the Vegas Take. What's up?
Hey, what's up, Alan?
Yeah, good morning, gents. Look, something no one has mentioned yet for mail-in ballots, there is a time limit. When can the ballot be counted, and at what point can a mail-in ballot not be counted? So the question over fraud in this particular case would be if mail-in ballots come in past Election Day at a time when the ballot should not be counted, and somebody says, who's going to know? They toss the envelope and count the ballot. That is voter fraud. And how do you pull or rein that in? There's nobody looking over their shoulder.
I hear what you're saying, Alan, and it's a good call, and that's certainly a concern. Certainly that is different than voter fraud, but I hear where you're going with that.
That is voter fraud.
By the way, let me just respond to what JD said as well. There's nothing wrong with being prepared, and many of the experts are saying that this virus is not going away by November. There's nothing wrong with being prepared in case the virus is still here. Let's go to Ed.
You're saying that this virus is going to be around for 10 months?
First of all, the election is in November, so I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. That's number one.
I'm sorry. The virus started in March.
Many of the experts are saying, it's going to be here for another 3 months. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay, be here and in a pandemic are two totally different things. If people are dying of this virus, but there's only a few thousand cases or 10,000 cases a day, it's not a pandemic at that point.
So because JD thinks it's not going to be a pandemic, we shouldn't be prepared.
No, I'm not saying we should. We can be prepared.
That's all I'm saying. Let's be prepared.
I'm saying that's great. Request an absentee ballot. Don't just send out ballots to every single person in the state of Nevada.
257
in an unorganized fashion.
Do we have enough time for one more call? Let's go to Ed. Ed, you're next on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
What's up, Ed?
Good morning. Hey, you keep saying about people going in and that they can't go in and make their vote. Why don't they just put their mask on? You've been telling that for 3 months.
Okay, so let me respond to that, what I consider to be a ridiculous statement.
How is that ridiculous?
Okay, well, if you'd let me respond, I'll answer it. So here's why that's ridiculous, sir, with all due respect. As you know, if you wear a mask, it's more for protecting others rather than yourself. So that's number one. Number two, as you know, they work as condoms work, and they're not 100% foolproof. If somebody that is elderly, that has underlying health conditions, I would give them the advice, and I'm sure their doctors would give them the advice, don't go out whether you're wearing a mask or not. Don't go out, period. Because if you contract the virus, there's a good chance you could die if you have a lot of underlying health conditions and you're old. So it's never a guarantee. So for you to come on this show and to suggest that and to say, well, tough, just wear a mask and go out there, that's ridiculous, Ed. I'm sorry, that's ridiculous. Nothing to say. All right.
No, would you say the same? Would you say the same thing to someone go to the grocery store?
I would say if you are old,
don't go to the grocery store.
Okay. I would say if you are old and you have plenty of underlying health conditions, I would say it'd probably be a good idea to find somebody else, maybe a family member, a friend, somebody, or a delivery service if you have the financial means to do so. Yes, I think it is dangerous for anybody to go anywhere right now if they're old and have a lot of underlying health conditions. It is dangerous.
But you wouldn't recommend that they request an absentee ballot.
If they want to request an absentee ballot, that's fine. But I'm also saying any type of ballot. If they're sent a ballot without requesting one, I don't have a problem with that either. I want as many people as possible to be able to vote. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, he is the Trump campaign spokesman, and he is also a former White House deputy press secretary. Of course, we're talking about Hogan Gidley. We're going to talk about this subject with him when it comes to voting and much, much more. Coming up next, right here, you are listening to the Vegas Take.